If you've been scrolling through endless specs sheets, watching dozens of YouTubers try to convince you that the newest ultra-fast gaming rigs are the only way to get a smooth experience, you probably feel a little stuck. You're wondering whether spending a premium on a pre-built desktop actually translates into better games, smoother streams, and less hassle setting everything up. Link is in the description if you want to check the product details on Amazon. In this review, I'm going to break down exactly what the iBUYPOWER Y70TI brings to the table, who it actually serves, and why it might be a miss for many gamers despite the eye-catching headline numbers. First off, the Y70TI is marketed as a on-stop shop, a HYTE touchscreen case, an Intel Core Ultra 9 285 processor, an RTX 5070 with 16GB of VRAM, 32GB of DDR5 RGB RAM, a 2TB SSD, plus a matching keyboard and mouse in snow white. On paper, that looks like a dream machine for anyone who wants to jump into 1440p or even 4K gaming without thinking about upgrades. The reality, however, is a little more nuanced. Who should consider this build? If you are a casual gamer who wants a ready-to-play box out of the gate and you don't want to research BIOS settings, separate component compatibility, or spend evenings building a PC, this can be convenient. The inclusion of Windows 11 Home means you won't have to download an OS. You just plug it in, hook up your monitors, and you're ready. The bundled keyboard and mouse are also nice for someone moving into a dedicated gaming space for the first time, because the set matches the aesthetic of the case and you won't need to hunt for peripherals that look good together. On the other side, if you're a seasoned gamer or streamer who already knows how to select the right balance of CPU, GPU, and storage for your specific workflow, you'll likely find the Y70TI limiting. The case is a HYTE touchscreen model that leans heavily into visual flair. While the touchscreen lid looks modern, it isn't something most gamers use in practice. It adds an extra cost that could have been redirected to a higher-end GPU or faster SSD. Moreover, the chassis design is fairly tight on airflow. The RTX 5070 is a powerful card, but under load you'll see the fans spin aggressively, and the touchscreen panel can warm up noticeably. For a system meant to run long gaming sessions or intensive streaming, that could become a noisy distraction. Let's talk about the CPU. The Intel Core Ultra 9 285 is part of Intel's newer Ultra line aimed at high-performance laptops and compact desktops. In a full-size desktop, the chip delivers strong single-core performance, which is great for titles that favor high clock speeds, like fast-paced shooters or strategy games. However, the Ultra label also implies a higher TDP than a comparable desktop Core i9, meaning the cooling solution has to work harder. In user forums, owners shared that the stock cooler in some of these builds runs hot when the CPU is pushed beyond 4 GHz, which can lead to throttling after an hour of intense gameplay. If you plan to overclock, you'll likely need to upgrade the cooler, something the pre-built package doesn't make easy. The GPU, NVIDIA's RTX 5070 with 16GB of VRAM, is the headline feature. In a typical 1080p or 1440p setup, you'll be able to hit 60 frames per second on demanding titles like Cyberpunk 2077 with ultra settings, and you'll enjoy DLSS 3 upscaling where it's supported. That's a solid experience for most gamers. But the 2TB SSD, while spacious, is a SATA drive rather than an NVMe model. In practice, you'll notice longer load times compared to a system that pairs the RTX 5070 with a PCIe 4.0 NVMe SSD. Games that rely heavily on streaming assets, open-world titles, for example, will load slower than the specs would suggest. If quick level transitions are a must for you, the storage choice is a practical weakness. Now, the memory, 32GB of DDR5 at 5200 MHz is generous, and the RGB lighting adds a visual punch. In real-world usage, most games don't need more than 16 GB, so the extra RAM is essentially future-proofing. The downside is you've paid a premium for the RGB kits, which have no impact on performance. If you're not into the glowing aesthetic, that cost isn't providing you any tangible benefit. One of the hidden trade-offs is the limited upgradability. The case's design, while sleek, makes it difficult to add additional radiators or larger GPU coolers. The rear panel is crowded with ports, and accessing the motherboard for a RAM upgrade or a new storage drive means removing the entire front panel, which isn't as straightforward as the typical toolless designs found in other gaming cases. If you ever want to swap the RTX 5070 Ti for a newer model, you may run into clearance issues. Another practical point: the bundled keyboard and mouse are fine for casual play, but they lack the mechanical switches, programmable macro keys, or high DPI sensors that many competitive gamers prefer. The mouse is a simple optical unit, and the keyboard uses membrane switches, so the tactile feel will feel cheap compared.